This is To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. My guests today, a local Democratic Florida state senator and a Republican state representative from the Treasure Coast. We begin with State Senator Tina Polsky, District 29 in Palm Beach County. The first topic, a just passed anti-protest bill now set to become law under the signature of Governor Ron DeSantis. It's an outgrowth of reaction to protests nationwide, some violent after the death of George Floyd, and it steps up penalties for violence, among other things. But critics say peaceful voices may be silenced.
We just finished a late session on Hb1, the anti-protest bill, we'll call it. It was very emotional. I think we went about 2.5 hours of debate, everyone sharing stories. I debated on, I think, some of the issues relating to the diverse and pretty much unanimous support against this bill and all the groups that have come together to fight this. The injustices that could happen where there would be nonviolent protesters at a rally, and all of a sudden it turns violent and everyone is scooped up in the melee and they get arrested and they're stuck in jail until they can appear in court, and much harsher penalties that can occur. And I'm very concerned about racial disparities that could happen with arrests. And the definitions in the bill of riot are just too broad. And we already have laws on the books to take care of violent protesters.
Briefly, how so? How do you feel the laws are too broad, or the rules that will be on the books?
Yeah, we went really detailed over the language, and it seems that a peaceful protester who's at a rally that becomes violent, not that that individual did anything violent, but there's violence, 3 people down, they could be caught up and arrested. According to the way I read the statute, and a lot of people read that as well. And that's the problem that we have. There's no issue with arresting people who are violent, but the laws already exist for that. So I just think this bill is unnecessary and dangerous to peaceful protesters.
We move to another topic. Your biggest focus in Tallahassee for your constituents this session?
Well, some of it was just by chance. We're sort of playing defense with some really difficult bills that came, but I know you want to talk about SB 86, the Bright Futures bill. And I happened to sit on 2 education committees. So I saw it, and I saw it on the floor, and I became very involved with it, as well as involved with the advocacy groups who were working on. And the first thing I'd like to say is the students and the parents were amazing, and they changed that bill. So the very difficult parts of the bill, that your major would be a factor in whether or not you got financial aid, is gone, I think, because of the advocacy. So I really give a shout out to all those people who work so hard. We're still concerned that the legislature can decide the funding each year. In 2018, the body voted to have a guarantee of 100% and 75% for Bright Futures, and that was guaranteed. And now they're saying it's up to the legislature each year to fund it. And you and I both know that there can be sweeps of funds, and it happens every year. And so parents who are trying to plan, or students who are trying to plan their education for a 4-year period of time, want to know, if I accept this offer, then I'm going to be fully financed for 4 years. And no one can guarantee that. And that's the problem with the bill at the moment.
Let me ask you 2 more questions. One, any other, well, I know there are many other, what else would be a chief priority for you that you've pushed for your constituents in these COVID times as we go through recovery, and other things on your mind? What's chief topic for you?
So I came into session really believing we'd work very hard to fix the unemployment crisis. I do believe that the folks at DEO, under some new leadership, and I've spoken with them, have been working on some of the more technical fixes and are getting money to do that. So I hope that that works. And that wasn't really something we were going to tackle in the legislature. But as we're dealing with changing Bright Futures, which is a program that works perfectly well, dealing with an anti-riot bill, dealing with transgender athletes playing sports, we're not focusing on the biggest issue that I came into session with, is unemployment. And there is one bill that has not made it to the floor yet. It was in its final committee today, that will raise the weekly benefit to $375 from $275. It's still woefully inadequate. And I hope that it got amended quite a bit today. I hope that in the end, what we vote on in the floor and that the House complies, because we don't know that they are, that the benefits will be improved, the number of weeks will be improved, and the process will be more streamlined and fixed from a technological standpoint. But it just seems that when we're dealing with a lot of these kind of social red meat issues, we're not dealing with the issue at hand. We're not dealing with healthcare for all. The pandemic certainly showed the disparity in healthcare. And when people lose their job, they lose healthcare. So we're not dealing with the issues that we need to be dealing with that Floridians are asking for. They're not asking for these things, but we've gotten sidetracked, and it's been frustrating and difficult.
And certainly your push on unemployment benefits and fixing a broken system that left so many hundreds upon hundreds of thousands bereft of benefits for a long time is a key focus. We only have about a minute or so remaining. There's SB 76, Senate Bill 76, meant to, as one article put it, quote, halt frivolous roofing claim lawsuits that proponents say is driving up the cost of insurance for us. Detractors say it's ultimately going to leave consumers holding the bag. In brief, what's the bill about? Where is it? What are your concerns?
So everyone watching knows that their property insurance rates have gone up. Mine have gone up. And that is supposedly the basis for this bill. But there's been quite a series of bills that attack lawyers, lawsuits, and sort of the whole litigation process. But it's necessary to have that process in place because we all know that insurance companies don't pay the claims right away. And so unless you get the help of a public adjuster or a lawyer, sometimes you will not get paid the correct amount. So this bill purports to help the situation of rising property insurance rates by making litigation more difficult, by cutting some attorneys' fees and other issues related to the lawyers. But I asked multiple times in committee, how can we guarantee that property rates will go down? And they can't. And they're kind of looking at the lawyers or litigation as the boogeyman. I had an amendment that was on the bill, off the bill. Now it's in another bill that has to do with the fraud that's going on with some of these contractors who are promising a free new roof to people who don't have damage. And they are not allowed to be offering insurance information. That's what a public adjuster does or a lawyer. So that may appear in another bill, but there's fraudulent issues, and there's not paying, and there's the weather, what we deal with in Florida. We've had a lot of storms, and so that's why there's a lot of claims.
My next guest, Republican and first-time state representative Dana Trabulsi from District 84, covering part of St. Lucie County. And we began with her perspective on the new anti-protest law.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, it's breaking news today that Hb1 passed on the Senate side. So now that's passed on the House side and the Senate side. It's on its way to Governor DeSantis for the final signature. I think that Hb1, I did vote up on Hb1, and I feel like it's a great bill. I do not feel that it is discriminatory in any way. I believe that it is basically Florida drawing a line in the sand and saying, you know what, we're not going to allow disruption here. We're going to have peaceful protest. We're going to enjoy peaceful protest. We're going to listen to each other, but we're not going to do it in a destructive way.
Representative, before we move on, one of the co-founders of Black Voters Matter said to the Orlando Sentinel in part, we're going about the bill now about to become law. We're going to criminalize the activity. We're going to criminalize your passion. That is those who went out and protested after George Floyd's death. We're going to criminalize your protest. That's not what democracy looks like. Your reaction to that?
We are not criminalizing protest. We are supporting protest, peaceful protest, and that is the bottom line.
Representative, let's talk about your work in Tallahassee this legislative session. What is your key focus? I know there are many necessarily, but what's your key focus for your constituents?
Thank you for asking that. So I have several bills moving this session, but I have to say by far, I'm so excited about House Bill 1, and that is the New Worlds Reading Initiative. And this is a bill that—
You said House Bill 1. I think you meant—
Oh, you're right. It is House Bill 3. I apologize. So House Bill 3 is the New Worlds Reading Initiative, and this is going to put free books in the hands of children who otherwise may not have them. So right now, 43% of third graders are reading under grade level. And what that equates to is of that 43%, 88% of them may not graduate high school. So with the New World's Reading Initiative, through our school systems, or perhaps through testing as well, we are identifying the students that are low performers in reading, and in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, they will be delivered a free book to their home every month with instructions and activities to their parents to help engage them in learning to read and get them up to grade level. We are so invested in education, and this is a top priority of mine, as I know it is for our speaker, and I'm excited to be putting this bill forth and made it through its final committee today.
Likely to get through the final House vote and a Senate vote and go on to become law? Are the odds good?
I think the odds are great.
Let me ask you, as a byproduct of that, in our COVID times, students learning at home, a lot of parents have been concerned, will they fall behind? Will it be as much of a rich learning environment? So it would seem this bill comes along at a time when we need to do even more to make sure students who may, for whatever reason, fall behind because of all the upheaval of our COVID times need that extra bit of help.
Absolutely. My daughter is a 1st grade teacher in St. Lucie County, and she has actually seen firsthand. And the percentages I gave you of 43% were actually from 2019. And with some of the disengagement with online learning, even though we're doing the best we can, I think that the number's going to be quite a bit higher, and we need to catch these kids while we can.
Representative, as long as we're on top of Bright Futures, as a coffee table discussion many parents have about what's going to happen with Bright Futures. It's gone through several evolutions. Where do you think that will go with the House and Senate in its final form for parents and students who count on that money?
Absolutely. So we're still 3 weeks till the end of session. A lot of conversations are happening between the House and the Senate regarding Bright Futures. My own daughter benefited from Bright Futures, so I understand parents' concern. The House is committed to no reductions in need-based financial aid this year, no increase in tuitions, and no reductions in college and university. So that's great news. But I also believe that we can't just depend on Bright Futures. As we're looking into jobs of the future, we have to look at other avenues for our students and young adults. So one being the skilled trades initiative, that, this is a great pathway for a lot of people that may not otherwise go to a traditional college. So I think we need to look at that. St. Lucie County is a great model for that. We have the Workforce Development Training Complex that's being built at Indian River State College. And our high schools have wonderful attractor programs that are engaging students every day to try to fit their interests with lessons on campus.
Representative, in our remaining 45 seconds or so, there's so many things we could talk about, but another pocketbook issue, Senate Bill 76 in the House version, I don't know the number on that, forgive me, but to halt frivolous roofing claims and lawsuits that proponents of the measures in the House and Senate say are driving up our insurance costs. Where are we with that? Detractors say it's ultimately going to cost us, the consumer, money. What is your take? Where are we?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of calls from constituents very concerned about their rising cost of insurance. Florida is a very litigious state. We account for 8% of all homeowner claims, but the state accounts for almost 76% of all litigation. We are seeing that there are fraudulent claims being made, and that is driving up the price of insurance. So we need to hold those people accountable so that we can keep our insurance rates down.
Bottom line, quickly, will it cost me, the consumer, money? Detractors say ultimately we're going to still pay the price.
I think that we're working really hard not to make that happen.
Representative, thank you for taking time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ahead, our roundtable's take as Florida lawmakers tackle hot button issues and more.